Justin Crawford here, and if you're looking for a little pick-me-up today, I have the perfect person for you. Robert Mack is a celebrity happiness coach and author of Happiness from the Inside Out, here to join me today on how to cope with everything that we're all going through and how to bring a little bit more of an uplift mentality to our lives. Robert Mack, thank you so much for coming on the show. I'm excited to have you. I'm an optimist by nature, but I knew having someone like you to come in and kind of express to us what these trying times are doing to people and what you're doing with your clients. I mean, you're the author of your own book, which is, Happiness from the Inside Out. So I'm so excited to dive into all of that. But first and foremost, how have you been doing?
I'm awesome, man. I'm so happy to be here. I get to see this, beautiful smiling face. That helps,
Come
man. It's
on.
just, I've been great though. I think, I feel like in some ways my whole life I've been preparing for this. I'm an introvert by nature. That being said, I think a lot of people are struggling right now.
Yeah, no, they are. And I think we've heard a lot of feedback from people, and almost every other person you talk to is looking for, that silver lining in a way to kind of figure out how we can look at this in a light. So from what you've been experiencing with your clients or you personally, how have you kind of dealt with that and started finding a silver lining somehow during this pandemic?
Practice, 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 man. I think that's the first thing is you got to practice, and it's not easy. It's like most things. It's difficult until it becomes easy, but with practice, it becomes easy. I think you also want to start where it's easy. So that means, you might not want to start with the partner that you live with or the roommate or something is difficult there. You don't want to start there. Start with easy things like the weather happens to be nice. You can go for a walk. You're still healthy. You've got social support to lean on. Maybe you've got some great books, some great movies to watch. Maybe you've got some wine in the cabinets. But whatever it is that you can focus on, that you can easily and effortlessly feel grateful about, is always a great place to start.
Yeah. And how much emphasis should one be putting it on themselves to really find that happiness, or and not really happiness right now, but optimism?
Yes, I love it. I mean, look, at the end of the day, we can make other people responsible for how we feel, but that ultimately only makes you powerless to do anything about it, right? If we blame other people or we blame conditions or circumstances for how we feel, then we render ourselves powerless to do anything about it, to change it. And so ultimately, you want to take complete control and responsibility for your happiness. It is your pleasure and privilege to improve the way you feel. And so it's just a question of getting in there, rolling up the sleeves, and putting a little work.
But during such hard times like this, when things don't look so good at all, Rob, what advice do you have for people?
I know, dude. It feels apocalyptic. We were just talking about that. Like New York, LA, streets are empty, and there's lots of fear in the air, lots of stress and anxiety. I think the main thing is to stay out of places and spaces that are unhappy. Places and spaces that are full of stress, anxiety, and fear, and worry and concern. So that means, for the most part, being very selective about the news you consume. That's one.
You said it.
Right? Huge happiness tip and trick there. The other thing is to stay out of the future, because there's not really a lot to be said about any of that. Who knows where things are heading? But I do know that optimists fare better in every area of life. When you're optimistic, believe it or not, you persist longer. You tend to find joy in places other people don't. You also experience better objective circumstances and conditions and outcomes in the end. So stay off the news, or at least be selective about it. Stay out of the future, because that's hard. It's hard to sort of find happiness in some future moment. You can only find in the present moment. And that's the third piece, which is stay out of your head and try to stay focused on the present moment, because that is what you can control. That is what's in your hands. The future is just really projection. It's imagination. The past is just a memory. It's history. So focus on the present moment.
Woo, be present. Like you said, it is your pleasure and your priority for the most part to really take care of yourself right now. Let's talk about Rob real quick. So when you first got into coaching people about not just happiness, but living a better, fulfilling life, I think, was there a particular moment in your life in which you decided you needed to, you found happiness for yourself and now you want to, help others find more of it?
Oh man, great question, dude. So like most things, I learned everything the hard way. I think a lot of us are like that.
I'd say all of us are like that.
Right? It's true, man. It's true. So I, quite frankly, the moment for me was the moment I decided not to kill myself. I mean, I was depressed and I was suicidal for years and years and years. I mean, as long as I can remember being alive, I remember feeling depressed and suicidal. And when I eventually came to a place where I wanted to do something about it, went to the kitchen, got a kitchen knife, steak knife, dug it into my wrist. And in that moment, a really strange experience happened and I felt peace for no good reason. Like nothing in my objective conditions or circumstances had changed, but on the inside, I felt better for it. So in that moment, I said, let me put off this suicide thing for maybe like an hour. That was it, man. Like that's all I had honestly committed to. And even that was a little bit ambitious for me at the time. But I said, let me do some research. And I did some research and I found that I was not alone. That a lot of folks were feeling suicidal and they felt the depression, the anxiety, the stress, the self-loathing. And I just started doing more and more research every day, applying what I could apply. And believe it or not, I found myself like inch by inch, digging myself out of this dark, deep, depressed hole. And I look back now and it seems kind of surreal. But that was the moment for me. It was the moment that I decided if I was going to live, I was going to live as blissfully as humanly possible.
I love that about you, Rob. The second I gave you a phone call, I knew you and I would get along.
Oh, man.
We're optimists, man. And I think there's something to be said about that. Especially
Absolutely.
during a time like this, it is very easy to fall into a downward spiral and, start negatively looking at everything. And that's okay for a quick second, when all of this started happening. But as we continue this, and this is literally becoming our new reality, I think people are trying to find some peace with it. So what has been some feedback from maybe your clients, your friends, your colleagues, people that you surround yourself with? I can only imagine your circle, Rob. So I cannot wait to be a part of your circle. I'll be honest with you.
You are a part of my circle.
I'm a part of your circle already.
Officially. Yeah,
so,
you are officially.
What's been whispering in your ears? How are people feeling about this? And do you feel like you have somewhat of responsibility to those around you to kind of make them feel a little more calm about everything?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's why I signed up for this job. This is why I made this happiness thing a career for me, because I knew that I needed to be accountable, not just to myself, but to other people. And if I didn't do that, if I didn't make it into a career of some kind, I'd probably find myself slipping. So yeah, folks are, I'd say for the most part, emotional roller coaster, right? Like every day, every moment of every day is a little different. I'm not sure what to expect. It feels kind of unpredictable, like the pandemic thing itself. And so, folks are experiencing a bit of an emotional roller coaster. I think there are lots of folks that are really thriving right now. Those tend to be the introverts, not always, but, generally those folks who have been training their entire lives to spend, their life inside. But that being said, I think, both extroverts and introverts are having an experience that feels like an emotional roller coaster. But there are some of us, you and I, for instance, who, have spent enough time doing the inner work to really stay centered and balanced and full of peace and equanimity and tranquility. And is my job. I mean, I feel like my job, all of our job really, is to be happy and know that our happiness is our gift to the world. And so that's kind of the way I see it. I see my happiness being the gift to the world. I don't try to talk people up, sort of into a better feeling state always. Sometimes I just want to embody that feeling state of optimism, of hope, of peace, and of presence. And I find that that's more contagious than anything else on the planet. It's more contagious than the virus by far.
Wow, that's a great point that you bring up. It is very true. Whether it's the 7 p.m. claps that we have in New York City or, whatever trends that are getting into now. I mean, but aside from TikTok dancing trends, there's a lot of things I think that are bringing a lot of people together, almost in synergy to kind of get everybody this sense of, we are going through this together, so that's incredible to see.
I love you highlighting. That's so true. And it is, if you think about it, for the first time, certainly since I've been alive, it feels like the whole world is on the same page trying to conquer the same enemy. I mean, it's quite profound in a way. And you see people that are thriving now, maybe sometimes just by reaching out and sharing their love and their light and their wisdom or helping a neighbor in ways that maybe before they didn't because they were too busy or not present or not focused on things that were all that important. And so I love seeing that. I mean, I can see and have noticed that with my own clients, for instance, like the single people, they're like dating like through Zoom and they're cooking dinner, separately, but over Zoom or whatever. And same thing with, couples and parents. But I think people are connecting now, or at least there's an opportunity to connect in sort of more meaningful ways that goes beyond just all the busyness and the hurry and worry that we're accustomed to in everyday life.
So again, it's our new reality for now, and it's slowing people down, which, unfortunately has created a sense of anxiety, but at the same time, it's, you're reminded that it's okay to step back for a minute and really reflect and get through these times however you need to.
Oh, beautifully said. And I just to highlight that and underscore, because it's such a profound point that you make. It is a time to self-reflect, revisit what you're truly committed to in your life. Like what you want to be committed to, not because you should or somebody said that you should, but genuinely, what do you want to do with your life? How do you want to spend your very precious time and energy on this planet? You only get one life as far as we know, and you want to spend it and invest it and enjoy it in as great a way as humanly possible. And so we want to be crystal clear about that. Adversity always allows us to do that, to step back, revisit what we care about, strengthen the relationships that are strong, weed out the relationships that are weak, and we come out of this better, more blissful, and just experiencing a much happier life.
I do not think anybody else could have said it any better, Rob.
Oh, man, I appreciate you, dude. I told you you're part of the circle, man.
Well, hey, you're part of my circle, and I am so truthful about that. So, man, I hope everybody listening has gotten some insight and really found a sense of calmness with everything you've said, because it's certainly something I wanted people to hear. And I think that, no matter what, man, I think coming out of this, people like you are going to be the reason that a lot of perspectives change during this time, and hopefully everybody that's in your circle and around your world have told you this, and I'll tell you this 1,000 times, but you're somebody that people look to for guidance during these hard times. So thank you for your insight, your knowledge. What you are doing is so important, and I know you know that deep in your heart, but for all of us, we appreciate you and your time right here on Bold, and we'll look forward to everything that's to come in your world, especially once we start getting the balls rolling in the real world, when we can come to LA or you can come to New York.
I'm so excited about that, man. And thank you for that. I fully received that. I had to work on receiving compliments in my life, but I fully received that. And please know I reflect that back perfectly and completely to you, because that is a perfect reflection of who you are, man. Like, it takes light to recognize light. So thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for who you are.
Thank you, Rob. We'll see you again soon, hopefully in person very soon.